I think what's exciting about San Francisco is that we come here, people move here to participate in a city that has a breath of consciousness.
The openness of this community is because the people who have lived here for many generations have developed that.
So multi-ethnic, multicultural, and that's always been why I'm here, and that's why my parents were here.
This has always been a financial center. It's always been a service center. It's always been a customer relation center.
From the beginning, San Francisco has been a city of destiny, framed in a bewitching setting of evergreen hills and fringed by the waters of the bay. This city is one of the truly spectacular sights of the world.
The Industry Standard's Mark Lowry is here once again with the word on which IPOs are expected to shine and which ones aren't.
Moved out here in 1997 when they were handing out jobs at the airport.
My impression of how things were out here was that it was just very fast. People were really moving and shaking.
I moved to San Francisco 2 years ago, and it was truly like a gold rush.
So here comes along an internet economy that says, look, if you have faith in what you're doing, you could become very rich very quickly.
A company called ideadollar.com.
We have URL, law.com,
Cosmo.com. Technology, just can't keep up with it. It's so great. Very, very impressed with that.
It felt like, oh my gosh, somehow the world just shook all these super freaky, weird, cool people all into one spot, and I'm working with them.
See the movies at turtlerock.com.
But this company is all about creating Java software that not only gets customers to e-commerce sites, but keeps them there.
This is Mecca for the tech industry.
So this city has undergone a lot of changes.
We're here for a reason, and that's because this infrastructure does not exist anywhere else in the world.
They had these awesome jobs and were living in San Francisco and living it up, and they could buy great shoes all the time, and that they could come right out of college at age 21 or 22 and land a job making $60,000 a year, just right away. Yeah, it's great. This is the new economy.
I've had 3 friends become overnight millionaires, and by overnight, literally overnight.
What your stock is worth today is going to be a fraction of what it's going to be worth in 10 years. Lots of these people, this is their retirement plan.
Come on board. We can only pay you a minimal salary, but you've got all this wonderful stock that's going to make you a multimillionaire.
I hear that all the time. There's this economic boom, and people are just making so much money. And I have family here and friends here, and we're all like, who?
Well, that's my part-time. Yeah. Oh, my full-time job is a postman, mailman, But I still cannot afford to live in San Francisco.
It's like a hurricane, and by the time it hit you and you try to regroup and get it together, it's over. We're washed out. We just found ourselves like adrift, and okay, where do we go?
rents doubled, in many cases tripled. And lower income people, people who didn't have very well paying jobs couldn't afford it. And that caused resentment. There was this feeling that everything that was going wrong in the city, the high rents, basically the high rents was the main one, was a result of these dot-commers.
What's happening in the Mission right now is that we're seeing literally an invasion of some wealthier elements, including the dot-coms, including other corporate offices.
But the situation with our building was one where it was vacant for 5 or 6 years. This neighborhood was full of coke-whores and heroin addicts, and they were right on the front steps here. They were breaking the windows, and we've come in, and I think we've been pretty responsible community members.
And people might think, well, what's so bad with that? What's so wrong with that? And my answer to that is, well, what's been happening is by having the wealthier folks moving into the neighborhood, that we've been seeing the displacement of working class families and small mom and pop stores, and the people that have been here for many, many years are now being forced out.
My name is Rusty Brown, and I have only one thing to say. If nothing else is accomplished, please see about some decent, affordable housing in this city for people like myself on a very small, restricted income. It's getting almost impossible to live here. And if my landlord is right and he does evict me, I don't know where I'll go.
Thank everybody for coming out today and defending the right, defending the memory of Lola McKay, and closing down the open house.
So Alvarado Street, where Lola McKay lived, is right up here on the left. She lived at 55 Alvarado. Lived there quite a long time. Well, Lola was, she was 83 years old. Like I said, she grew up in San Francisco. She was married and divorced. She had no family left whatsoever. What she enjoyed doing most was staying at home and reading and doing some cooking. She didn't go out much. She went out to a restaurant once a week, went out to the hairdresser once a week, went around the corner to pick up her groceries. She grew up in the Mission. She lifetime San Franciscan. She'd been here for so long. Had many stories about what the old Mission was like, and this was truly her home.
The real estate company that evicted Lola McKay was looking to sell her house for over $500,000, and today we were able to stop the open house, which would have led to that sale.
Well, I think it's an outrage, and it's a crime that landlords could evict seniors and handicapped people who have no place to go. Many of them have to move out of the city, others become homeless.
This is not Lola's apartment, but very similar. In fact, it's a mirror image of hers. Hers is simply on the other side of the stairs. The best buildings for condo conversions are those buildings which have a lot of long-term tenants in them, and those are because those buildings are worth somewhat less to another landlord who's looking for rental income. So the speculators look for buildings with long-term tenants in them. Seniors tend to have long-term tenancies. Seniors, if they make it through the eviction, most often end up in a nursing home or in some retirement community many miles away from San Francisco.
No, thank you. Who would I do in a nursing home? Be too many people around. See, I'm the type, I'd like to be by myself.
The ones that we've monitored typically don't last for more than a year, maybe even 6 months. So the evictions of seniors kills them.
After all these years, you know, I haven't done anything wrong, and I kept the place up, and I own everything in here.
She would often say, they can't evict me, where would I go? And I can't leave here, this has been my home.
Maybe I can come up with something, you know, so I wouldn't have to move, period. Or I might be dead by then.
A real estate company bought her building last year. They bought the building for $500,000 and they immediately evicted Lola and the 3 other tenants.
They've got blood on their hands.
Lola died fighting her eviction.
I think the first thing to understand is why there's so much technology in the Bay Area, because that's really where it all starts. And the fact is, you know, the world at large, the global economy is moving to an information age, and that's typically funded by the venture capital community.
Their job is to start companies, spin them into the market, get them out there, and then exit and get their money back to themselves and their investors. So that's the nature of that game. Something like SoftBank Ventures, that's actually a Japanese venture capital operation, and they're investing very, very heavily in Yahoo, Webvan, eToys, a lot of the .coms. So there's just a tremendous amount of money flowing into our system to finance this boom.
Just the kind of numbers that people would drop casually in conversation were astonishing. Oh, well, you know, $4 million in a first round, that's really not a lot. You know, like, that's a huge amount of money.
Last quarter, the 3-month period, there was $20 billion invested in venture capital worldwide, not just technology, worldwide. And $7.5 billion of that came into the Bay Area. So this one little area right here sort of commanded 35% of all investment dollars in the world. That's just an amazing, amazing figure, and that all went to technology companies.
Supposedly they have all this money, and you know, and money talks or whatever, and money makes a person. But I mean, I don't know. It's just that they seem kind of weird because, you know, they're not into a community like they should be. They didn't check out the community who was here before they bought the buildings, before they moved in. You know, they just thought that they were gonna be some, you know, big hot shots or whatever. But you know, it's not like that here.
I love this neighborhood for so many reasons. I love it because of who lives here. I love the fact that you walk down the street and you bump into Senora Lopez, or you bump into La Senora Cisneros, and hey, how you doing, Maria? I'm fine, how are you? And how are the kids? And I love that so many immigrants live in this neighborhood. There used to be a lot of Italian families and Irish families, and then it became Mexican Chicano, and then it became more and more Central American with the wars going on in Central America. But fundamentally, the Mission, along with other neighborhoods in San Francisco, has always allowed working class families and small businesses and artists and people with less money than the dot-commers who are coming in to be able not only to live here but to flourish.
It's something about this like community, this little block, you know, a neighborhood that just everybody knows each other, everybody knows where everybody lives, you know. It's like, you know, who drives what car. I mean, it's like, I don't know, it's like a little connection that everybody has right here. When the lady next door moved in, She doesn't have no kids, and you know, I mean, we always have kids out in the front because we have like a pretty big front patio. And you know, the kids after school, they came over here from Cesar Chavez, and you know, they hanged out, they played, they did their homework, whatever it is that they did. And the lady next door didn't like that. She doesn't have no kids. She has 2 pit bulls. She came in here with anger and with sort of like an attitude towards the entire community. She put this huge fence right here, and she locks herself in there. If you look up there right now, she has cameras up there, looking at us right now as we speak. You know, my friend Charles, you know, he builds computers, he fixes them. You know, he can do anything with computers, you know. It's just that people, it's first experience that people take a look at you, you know, they say, okay, his pants are hanging down, he's a gangster. He sells drugs, he steals, he's been in jail. But you don't ask him to see what his life is really like. She went to go tell our landlord that our kids were being a nuisance, you know, that like we were making too much noise, too much garbage, we were too loud, stuff like that. And so our landlord thought that he could slip up real quick one and evict us. So he gave us an eviction notice. It made me feel bad, you know, because nobody deserved this. You know, nobody in the family deserved this. We've been here for the past 10 years, and, you know, it's not right for one person to come in, you know, with a whole bunch of money and, you know, just think that they can screw up an entire neighborhood. My little sister's 9, and my little cousin's 10, and they knew what was going down. You know, they knew what evictions were. They knew what was going to happen if we did get evicted. You know, as the oldest of my siblings, you know, I decided to, you know, take charge, and you know, I wasn't gonna let nobody push my family around. I mean, if it was just, you know, like me living here by myself, I wouldn't really care, you know, because I mean, I can just go with one of my friends or one of my relatives, you know, but I mean, where's the family gonna go?
People who move in the mission are in fact replacing the Latinos. Latinos have taken, in many cases, money for those old rundown structures they live in, and they're buying in Daly City, or they're buying a better structure some other place. It's the natural process. The mission was not always Latino. The mission at one time was Irish.
They can't even afford to rent a studio nowadays here in San Francisco. The immigrant workers that I work with, most of them live under the bridges, live out on the street.
I feel angry, of course, like many people do, and sad, because it's, in a lot of ways, it's progressed much farther than, of course, anybody feels comfortable with, and thousands of people have been evicted, and I can see someone on the street and know you have the house that used to belong to 7 immigrant Salvadorians and now belongs to you.
Today, this gargantuan bridge spans the blue-green waters of the bay between San Francisco and Oakland, welding dozens of nearby communities into one busy, humming metropolitan area.
With the huge housing pressure on San Francisco, this has caused like droves of people to come over the bay looking to buy property. And what this has done has created, you know, this like huge wave of displacement here in Oakland, especially that in Oakland we don't have tenant protections that exist in other cities such as San Francisco and Berkeley. There's something called no-cause eviction, so a landlord can give a tenant a 30-day notice for no reason, and it's completely legal.
We've been living here for 4 years. This building was sold on April the 3rd.
It was for sale for like 4 years, or 3 years, I'm sorry. But the owner kept saying he wasn't selling the building.
And we were contacted by the new owners 2 weeks later, and she immediately served my family with a 30-day notice.
Hey, get that one first.
For 8 weeks of just her wanting us out 4 weeks ago, but no place to go, and me just sitting there telling her, Helen, if you know what the market is, if you know what's going on, I don't want your property. I would love to move. I'm happy to move, but you got to give us time.
I went to look at a place in Petaluma, and it's not ready though, and we have to be out by the 31st, and the place in Petaluma is not ready, and there's many applicants for that, so I don't know if we may even get that. We're packing up. We're going to put our things in storage. I don't like to use the word homeless or say that I fear being homeless. I mean, I really hope. I know it really won't come to that, but you know, we still haven't found a place.
I'm from here because I didn't born. I'm from
this whole house of like families, community, always getting together, holiday, different celebrations, children, you know, just fun stuff. And then all of a sudden it was like a bad dream. We woke up and we had to get out.
Just for the record, I went ahead and called some homeless shelters. Just in case, I mean, I don't even want to think that I'd ever have to use them, but I did call just to find out that if I did go to a women's shelter, I couldn't take 3 of my sons with me because you can't be a male child over 10 in a homeless shelter. They're putting people out in the streets, and then supposedly you have shelters and other organizations to help you, but not if you have kids. You know, or not if you have male children. So now this is starting to make me wonder, what is this whole thing with male kids and putting them in the street? I've never separate my family like that. So, you know, we're here together. We're here through thick and thin. Mommy, can you do something? Can you kind of like hold this like right here? All right, hold it. Got it? Yes.
You know, The Guardian in 1998 did a big cover story called The Economic Cleansing of San Francisco, and I think that at that point we hoped that we were at sort of like, you know, the peak of that trend, and, you know, that things would improve after that. We had already seen hundreds of evictions at that point, and kind of the fundamental change of the city was really underway. A lot more chain stores coming in, a lot more sort of upper end restaurants and boutiques and that whole thing happening. So I think, yeah, when we put out that story, we kind of were marking, you know, that particular moment in history. What we didn't realize was that in 1998, that was the beginning.
Our building's up for sale. We're facing eviction.
This is my 4th eviction since April.
There's been 15,000 legal evictions in the last 3 years in San Francisco. 15,000.
Everyone I know is kind of like on pins and needles.
What's going on in the Castro is the same as what's going on all over the city. Gentrification, evictions, evictions, evictions.
Y en muchos lugares no me aceptan con muchos niños. Me han dicho que como son 4 niños los que tengo, no me quieren aceptar con tantos niños.
The short version is we've been .com'd out of existence.
I think there's 800 nonprofits in the city right now, and they're saying a third of them are going to lose their leases in the next year. The visual artists, the dancers, all but 2 dance spaces have closed.
Our rent went from $6,000 to $12,000 a month.
I mean, we can't raise our prices 300%, you know, and yet they can raise our rent 300%.
We have less than a 1% vacancy rate, and a person who's on the street has almost no chance of finding a reasonable, similarly priced apartment.
I wanted to put a face to these kids, because they're also face eviction, and that's all I have to say.
More importantly than the details of like individuals' evictions, because we all read papers and we all know the stories that are going on, But more importantly than being evicted from my home, from our four walls, I feel is being evicted from our barrios, from our neighborhoods. This right here, this mission, this is my village, and I count on my village to help me raise my son. As everybody knows, you know, it takes a village to raise children, and I don't know what I'll do without you guys. Los quiero mucho, and we probably won't be here in a few months, but we'll always come back to make sure that everybody that's left here can stay at least. Peace.
For a change of pace, spend some of your days discovering nearby places where you can tour California's historic wineries and sample the flavor and bouquet of her famous vintages. And beyond the vineyards are the towering redwoods that stand majestically in a silence as old as time.
Rents go from $2,500 to $2,950 a month, one bedroom, 1.5 bath, parking included, washer and dryer in the building, telephone secured access system. There's a ADT security system inside of each unit, a wire for 8 phone lines, private roof decks, private patios. Each unit's a little bit different. So what else can I tell you?
The advantage of the live work is when you have people in and they're living there, then they're going to go out there and spend money and revitalize the whole downtown area.
I thought it was really criminal the way they used the artist as who they were building these live work lofts. I mean, to take our idea and then use us to push us out of the way was really painful to watch happen.
And so suddenly you had this new mentality surrounding these newcomers, people with no children, people that didn't need a kitchen, people that needed great space in which to work, great light, and needed 24-hour-a-day social-based services like restaurants and what have you. So you build a loft next door.
Consider this, the loft rental market, in San Francisco is in its very fledgling infancy stages. I got a place, 1.495, 1.3 million dollars, $649,000. A lot of young couples. A lot of young couples. 2 steady working people.
Where is the Mission? Is that close by here?
You shoot up 17th Street, and you just keep going until you get to Mission Street. You'll be a block from the hottest corner, 16th Valencia. Lots of cheap fashion and stuff to do. So they got Oxygen Bar. I think they got the Oxygen Bar. That would be Oxygen.
What's that?